Brilliant.
And I've done that, so I'll hand you over to Gillian.
Great stuff, thank you. So what I'm going to do, if I can, am I able to screen share at all, Rob?
I don't know if you are. I'll see if I can. I'll see if I can allow you to do that.
Okay, that'd be great if I can, but don't worry if I can't, because we have sent out. I think Lisa's had the copy this morning of a little booklet that covers all the information that I'm going to go through in this session.
Rob, if you make Jill a co-host like you do with me, and then Jill can share.
Brilliant. Thank you for that.
So yeah, just while Rob's attending to that, as I say, I'm Jill Garrett. I am the disability, I'm the energy redress trainer at the Disability Resource Centre. Thanks, Rob. I should be able to do that now. And my role is to support with conversations around gas, electricity, and water bills and usage at home. And we were asked to just come along today just to give you a little bit of information on kind of where we are now and where we are heading towards in terms of gas and electricity. Dawn, I can see your face on the screen there. Can you just give me a thumbs up if you can see those slides? That's brilliant, great stuff, thank you. So just a quick intro, what we'll go through in terms of agenda, where we are now in terms of the energy markets, what this energy price cap is that everyone's been banging on about, and I don't know whether anyone's looked at their bills, has even bothered to go near the meter, is trying to avoid it and plead blissful ignorance because we don't want to see what that bill now looks like. We're going to talk a little bit about council tax rebate and the conversation around that as well. We're also going to talk a little bit about meter readings and bills and kind of what's to come next, if you like, as well. So we've got a few things going on there too. Yeah, avoiding the meter after hearing it will increase by 50%. Vaughan, I think that was you. Yeah, we don't really want to look at it, but we know we've got to. If we're going to manage things particularly well at home, the best thing is not to be blissfully ignorant about it so that it doesn't come back round and bite us. It's to be really aware and go in with lots of insight. And if you need any support with that, if you need any information from us at the Disability Resource Centre, then we're more than happy to help you with that as well. So kind of a little bit about where we are now. The global pandemic, we've just been talking a little bit about that, has been blamed for an awful lot of what's been going on in the energy markets. And whilst it has had a little bit of a part to play in that, it's not been completely to blame for the situation as we see it now. Yes, there have been issues with usage of energy during the pandemic. So with lots of businesses closing their doors, schools, you know, using reduced amounts of rooms, all those kinds of things. Then there was kind of a less of a surge on the energy, if you like, and so what the energy companies then started to do was use up the reserves of what they already had rather than buying in more. What then happens is, as we've come out the other side of it, is, you know, people have gone back to work, or we've been doing things online, and all those kinds of things have been happening, and we've seen massive surges in energy as kind of restaurants and cinemas and all those kinds of things have opened up again. Is that what we found was the energy companies had used their reserves and were now having to buy that energy back in. However, they were buying it in at a higher price, and that price is now being transferred onto the customer. So not in its entirety, but that is partly to blame. What we also had was, and if anyone's a little bit like me and likes kind of green, sustainable energy, that was really important to me when I was picking an energy provider. But what we found during the pandemic is we had such beautiful weather, which was amazing because we could get outside in gardens and you know, have that one walk in the park in the day when we were allowed to, and do all of those kinds of things. However, it meant that we weren't gaining as much sustainable energy as perhaps we would have hoped for. So lots of solar energy was being created, but there wasn't a lot of wind energy being created. So again, the energy companies who were reliant on kind of sustainable sources and using those renewable sources of energy weren't producing as much as they would have hoped for. So yeah, they're having to now buy it in, and that's coming at less higher cost. And there's something in there about our resilience and our bounce back ability. We've found ways of doing things, but that's come at a cost in terms of energy, or a cost in terms of fuel. So kind of either getting back out and about into the world is costing us more in terms of fuel. If anyone drives and we're using, you know, petrol or diesel, that's gone up. However, the alternative is if we're choosing not to do those things and we're able to work from home and those kinds of things, the price of that has also gone up. So either way, the customer's being hit. And we've got on there the increased wholesale price of gas and electricity. Obviously, the current climate with, you know, kind of things happening in Russia, things happening in the Ukraine, all the kinds of global events that we're seeing occurring, are not solely to blame for the increased wholesale price of gas and electricity, because what we know is that we don't get vast amounts of our wholesale electricity from Russia, gas and electricity, or gas mainly from Russia. We get it from elsewhere in the world, but because they're putting their prices up, so is everybody else. So we're being hit kind of every which way, it feels like at the minute, and this is why we kind of called it a rising cost at home, because I don't know whether anybody's paying attention to their gas and electricity bill, their water usage, their food, their fuel. Everything's increased, and it's sort of how are we managing that. So obviously in our team, we are here to look at gas, electricity and water. And again, you know, as I say, we've got energy advisors within the team. We've got myself and the team doing workshops. And we have been trying really hard to educate as many people around kind of usage of gas and electricity, and just thinking about how that works for people, but also trying to steer people away from fuel poverty. That was kind of one of the main aims of our project when we first started out on it. So this is the second set of funding we've had to run this project. And what we look at within that is kind of this low income, low energy efficiency model of a household's definition of fuel poverty, if you like. And what we look at within that is income, which is where John will come in just a second, talking about kind of income maximisation and making sure people are getting everything they're entitled to, and all the support that can be put in place is there. So I'll get John to talk about that when I finish. And we also talk about fuel efficiency. So what we can do is support with measures around fuel efficiency in the home to support you to prepare now for what's to come kind of in the winter that's coming. So yeah, we're starting to see some nicer weather. We're starting to see some warmer weather. We're perhaps needing to use the heating a little bit less, maybe. Perhaps not so much as we did through the winter. We know that some conditions are exacerbated by cold and damp conditions, so people have still been using heat sources as well. But it's making sure that person's home is holding that heat, and then we're not just heating up a room so it can get out of all those drafts and you know, and vents and things that we've got going on. So what we can support with is referrals to an organisation who can support with fuel efficiency measures in the home and can come out and assess what somebody might need. And we can also do pieces of work that support people around fuel prices. So I'd like to say we can shop around like we used to. There's not a lot of shopping around going on at the minute around energy prices. Sometimes it's better to stay with the same provider and haggle for a different tariff within the same provider. And that's where the language starts to get very confusing, which just sometimes makes people go, do you know what? I don't understand the language of tariffs. I don't understand kilowatt hours. I don't understand even where to start reading this bill and whether I'm being billed appropriately or effectively, or you know, whatever it might be. So I'm just going to crack on regardless. And we're saying no, what we want to do is educate people and empower people to become more savvy energy customers, in the same way they are savvy about lots of other things that we shop for. So, you know, we'll have conversations with clients who'll say, you know, well, the beans were on sale at Asda, so I went to Asda for my beans and I picked up the bread while I was there, but I went and got my so-and-so in Aldi because it was cheaper in Aldi. And we'll shop around for, you know, small items like beans and bread and those kinds of things where we know we can save a few pennies. What we're not very good at is shopping around for things like energy. We feel very loyal to energy suppliers. We've perhaps been with them for a very long time. And sometimes that loyalty doesn't always pay off. So we can work with people to look at fuel prices and make sure they are on the best possible tariff available to them. One thing that we were very mindful of, and obviously this workshop has come after the 1st of April, and it wasn't lost on us at all that was April Fool's Day, was when the 54% increase went on to people's bills. So we had a 12% increase last October. So the energy prices were reviewed up until September, and the price went up in October. Then it's reviewed again for that period up until March, and we get that increase in April. And then that'll be reviewed again now, ready for the following increase. Now it went up by 12% in October. It's gone up by 54% now, and we're anticipating another 25% increase on top of what you're paying now by the end of October. So if you weren't aware of that, we need to be preparing for that now, making sure that we're monitoring our usage, reducing our usage as much as possible with some behavioural things that we do at home. Making sure that we've got things like drafts sorted, curtains sorted, flooring sorted, things like heating systems, making sure they're working appropriately, ready for the winter coming again, so that we can try and reduce that usage when we get to that point a little bit later on. Let me just check the yikes, yeah, definitely fun. It's grim reading at the minute when we're talking about increases. What we anticipate, and do not quote me on this at all, is that next year they'll say, oh, we're going to head into a reduction, and everybody will get very excited about that, but it will only be a reduction on the almost 100% increase that we've already faced. So it will bring us back down to somewhere round about perhaps where we are now, maybe a little bit less, but who knows. It's like just kind of putting your finger in the wind and just trying to anticipate what the moves are going to be at the minute. But we are expecting that increase with a potential decrease to come following that. So one thing we've been chatting to people about is their council tax rebate, and making sure that everybody who is entitled to the council tax rebate gets the rebate. It's called a rebate. Chats with the Financial Implementation Partnership at Birmingham City Council have suggested that we need to make a little bit of a shift away from that council tax rebate language, because it's not actually a full reduction on your council tax. It's a £150 reduction for this period only, to support with the increases that have gone on elsewhere. The challenge that people may face with that is that, yes, we might get that £150 back, but we're also seeing an increase in our council tax as well. If we're paying council tax, we're seeing that increase in that as well. So it's kind of leveling out, and we're not really getting as much as perhaps as anticipated to try and bridge some of this shortfall between gas and electricity price increases. We are starting to see some of those payments coming through now, and they are for direct debit customers. And if you're not a direct debit customer, you need to apply for the council tax rebate. So if you want more information on that, again, just contact one of the team and we can support you with that. But yeah, we're starting to see them coming through, and hopefully it will help make a difference on that. Just on that one as well, what we will see towards the end of the year is a £200 payment, a direct payment to your energy bill from the energy provider, that will support you with your usage and bill going into the winter. So you need to watch out for that £200 bill, £200 payment going on as a credit. However, it's only a loan, so it will have to be paid back. Okay, and it's going to be paid back at £50 a year. I think it's £50 a year over 4 years, or £40 a year over 5 years. That will have to be paid back. So the council tax rebate doesn't, but the £200 that you get from your energy provider will have to be paid back. Okay, so it's just being mindful that that is coming as well. That's due to come around October, Fawn. That's when they're starting to make those payments ready for people's bills going into the winter. So you'll get that £200 payment as a lump sum on your account, but it will come off in increments of, I think it's £40 over 5 years. So you need to be mindful that you are going to be paying that back as well. However, they have said it won't, although you're getting it and you've got to pay it back, it's not considered a loan in as much as it won't affect your credit score. However, they haven't clarified that if people don't make that payment or can't make that payment, how that then will affect your credit score. So we need to just be mindful of people who may be struggling with finances, and to make sure that people are getting exactly what they're entitled to, which is where John will come in just a sec, and making sure everybody's on track for, you know, for making all those payments back. So just a few kinds of hints and tips from us, and I'll pick up any other questions at the end. Yes, it is fun. It is 0% interest, so you won't pay anything more than the £200. A few hints and tips on things we can do. Keep your meter readings that you took on the 31st of March. If you did take meter readings prior to and on the 31st of March, keep them, particularly if they were on a phone, because they will be date stamped. So if there are any issues with bills or any complaints to be made, we have got those meter readings in place. Okay, and if you were savvy enough to do that, that's brilliant. If we are still using heating, you know, it's trying to turn that down by 1 or 2 degrees can make a difference on your overall annual bill. Or, you know, if you're not dependent on that heating based on your condition and mobility and those kinds of things, or circulatory conditions that people might experience that cause them to feel cold, is to just think about whether you've reset the schedule on your timer, or do you know how to use your timer, all those kinds of things. If you're not savvy with your heating system, or perhaps you've moved into a property where it's a new system and you don't understand necessarily how the heating controls work, again, get in touch with us and we can support you to understand how to use your heating controls better and how to reset those and schedule them differently if you want to. So the schedule that you may have had set over the winter may not be what you need it to be now. So we may have that heating coming on when we don't need it to, or perhaps it's coming on earlier and we only need it to come on maybe an hour or so later. So if you're not sure about that, do get in touch with us, and yeah, we spend lots of our lovely time talking through heating controls, which sounds really boring, doesn't it? But if it saves people some money, then that's what we're all about. We've got on there swap to LED bulbs. LED bulbs can be quite expensive in the first instance to provide those, but they can have that overall reduction on your bill. We do have, I don't want to say stash, but we have got a stash. We've got a lovely stash at the Disability Resource Centre of LED light bulbs. So if anybody would like to have some light bulbs given to them, we have got some of those that we can give out for free. Thanks to our lovely friends at IKEA, we made a massive donation of light bulbs and blankets to us. So if you are feeling the cold, let us know. We've got some lovely fleece blankets. If you would like some LED light bulbs, again, shout up and we can have some of those dropped off or sent out to you. Do one less wash a week. You know, are we filling the machine, or are we just putting lots of little loads on and using that full kind of system cycle? So we know that's one area where we can save some money. Draft proofing your home is another area where we can save some money. And again, like I say, we have had real great success in providing things like draft exclusion strips, reflective radiator panels we can get for you, so it bounces that heat back into your room rather than going through the brick wall. What else have we been able? We've been able to get some oil-filled radiators supplied to people. And we have still got some supplies of the winter warmer packs as well. So if you do like to or need to try and keep warm and you want to try and turn that heating off, we have got some packs that contain things like snoods, some nice warm socks, some gloves, a hot water bottle, a travel mug to keep your drink warmer for longer, so we're not having to perhaps boil that kettle so many times. Or if you're anything like me, heating the drink up in the microwave because you made it 2 hours ago and you still haven't drank it because you were busy doing other things. So yeah, we've got those kinds of facilities available, and again, we can have those dropped off to people if you'd like to access any of those resources, or if you've got family or friends who you think would benefit from those as well, let us know, we can get those dropped off to you. And also, one of our clients came up with a really savvy idea of using solar lighting indoors. So now we've got those lighter days, is having she'd access to solar lamp, but kind of string lights with little lights on and twinkly lights, particularly for children, like those kinds of things. We can light those panels up during the day and charge those up using the sun, and then have those around the house in the evening. Obviously, if that has an impact on your safety, yes, they're all for free for, and all the things I just mentioned, the bulbs, the blankets, the packs, and the draft exclusion, that's all provided free of charge. So yeah, jump on them. There's not a lot going about these days that we get for nothing, but these are absolutely for nothing with no obligations attached to them at all. So yeah, do access those. Yeah, so just things like using string lighting or solar lighting indoors of an evening, once we've charged that up through the day, was just a savvy idea that one of our clients had shared with us. So a few hints and tips there. So what's to come? Further increase in October that we need to prepare for now. So get your house, get your home, your family's home, if it's families that if it's members of the family that you're looking after who don't directly live with you, you know, make sure those houses and homes are ready for this increase that's coming, and make sure that all that heat and all that lovely energy that we're using and putting into that home is staying where it needs to be. And if you need any support with that, do shout up. Warm home discount is making sure everybody who is entitled to the warm home discount is applying for that. There is now an extension to the criteria of who can apply for the warm home discount. So again, if that's something that you want some more information about, do shout up. Be mindful if you have switched energy provider and you do have to apply for it, you would have to apply with your new provider.
Why not? Sure, why not?
Let me just pop on mute there. So yeah, it's just being mindful that everybody who is entitled to and needs to apply for the warm home discount is doing so. What we found last year with the warm home discount, if you do have to apply, is that the windows were very small. I think it was Utilita opened their window for 1 week only. So if you missed it and you need to apply and you didn't apply within that week, that was it. It was gone for another year. And we also know there's that increase on the warm home discount as well to £250 payment now. So yeah, it's being mindful of that as that starts to open up again going towards the winter. Priority services register is making sure if you are entitled to be on the priority services register that you are on the register. If you've switched provider, make sure that you get put on the register for the new provider, because that is something that, although switching companies switch all the accounts and the bill, what they don't switch is the priority services element of the provision. So if you have switched provider, you need to make sure you are on the priority services register, and that is with gas, electricity and water. What that means is if you've got a condition that means you're dependent on your gas, electricity and a clean supply of water being supplied, then you will be priority for connection should you be should the supply be disconnected, or you will be notified if that supply is going to be disconnected, not disconnected, but you know, if it's going to go off for some sort of reason, they're doing works on it or whatever it might be, or there is an emergency, you will be the priority group of people who get support with that. We've just put on there review providers and tariffs, and again, just looking at who your energy company is, what the tariff is that's with them, looking at things like the standing charge within that, looking at things like, does it provide priority services register, looking at things like, you know, is it green energy, if that's something that's important to you, not a problem with you, looking at things like the kilowatt hour usage that you're being billed for, and making sure that we understand all of those things. And what we have got at the Disability Resource Centre is an e-learning platform that's got lots of lovely little e-learning modules that you can just work through in your own time. There's no requirement to register, and I'll send the link over to Lisa for that. But you can work through, it tells you how to read your bill, how to read your meter, how to make a complaint to your energy provider, all those kinds of things that you might find useful, or you know, you might be thinking about this stuff at, I don't know, 10 o'clock in the evening and we're not there to take your call. Is you can just jump onto that platform and all that information is provided for you, and then you can contact us as and when you need that support. Like I say, we've got those practical supports in place as well. So it's making sure that we're doing all those things in preparation, but also being mindful of your own well-being in that. So we know that people have been isolated, and we know that isolation and you know, staying at home and just this whole kind of worry around how we make ends meet, lots of people feeling the pinch, you know, and it's not just households that were perhaps heading towards poverty or fuel poverty before. Lots of households are feeling the pinch. And we've got clients coming to us that just wouldn't perhaps have anticipated needing to use our services previously, and now do, and that's absolutely fine, because that's exactly what we're there for. Having said that, what we've got at the Disability Resource Centre is a whole heap of other resources that you perhaps don't necessarily know about yet. So, you know, things like we've got access to counselling services. We can make referrals for counselling if people are really struggling and need some support. John will talk to you about IAG in just a second. And we've got lots of other things. We've got Fit for Life programmes. We've got Safe and Sound programmes. We've got all kinds of things that are happening that we can support people with now that you know those resources there if we didn't before. Okay. So I'll just come back to any questions in a second. Like I say, there's 3 of us in the team. That's Tracy, who's our senior got someone else's teeth in now, senior energy advisor. And you will get sent the little booklet from Lisa that's got all of the information on, all of the contact numbers, all of the email addresses, and you can contact anyone from the team. Ange works in the team part-time. She's there 5 days a week part-time, and she is an energy advisor also. And then you've got myself, who's in the team as the training officer, who is around just to take calls. I will do, Rob, I'll send those links over to you. I will send all the links across are in the little booklet that's sent to Lisa, but I'll send them all to Rob, and you can do with them as you please. So they're out there for public consumption. And yeah, if you need to contact any one of us, feel free to do so. So I'll just ask if there's any questions first, and if you want to just pop your hands up or pop it in the chat, that'd be amazing. And then I will just hand over to John just to share a little bit about how IAG bounce off energy and how we support each other. Any questions? All good so far, I think. John, I think it's over to you then to chirp up and fill us in on IAG, if that's okay.
Yeah. Jill, can I just ask that maybe if you put your email addresses in the chat so people can take a note of that, because it might have been a bit quick for people to see.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Not a problem at all. I'll do that for you now.
Yeah, and over to you, John. It's all over to you now.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, hi everyone. I've been invited along today, and I thought I'd have a quick chat with you regarding our IAG service. I'm not going to run through a presentation. It's probably best if I just talk you through it, really. But we run an information, advice and guidance service at the Disability Resource Centre. Some of you will probably know me already because I do recognise some of the names on here. And we used to be based in Burton Road and then up in the city, and now we're over in Kitts Green. But our information advice helpline is there to provide people, you know, with any sort of help with information around issues to do with anything with disability, basically. And we also help clients to fill in forms and applications. So if anybody needs help with any sort of like benefit forms, blue badge forms, or making a grant application, we can do that on behalf of the clients for you. And we're also just starting back up as well, home visits. So we can do home visits now, once again, for the first time in 2 years. So we can get to clients' properties to help them or meet them in some location in the community to help them filling in any sort of forms that they require. The only thing that we don't provide in the IAG service, and we do get asked quite a lot this, is we're not support workers, so we cannot supply support services. And we can help people apply for benefits all the way up to appeals, but we cannot help people with representation for appeals, I'm afraid. That's something we are not trained in. But that's our IAG service. And what I'll do is I'll put my email address and our contact number in the chat screen for any of you to use or to pass on to anybody if you like. Has anybody got any questions on that?
No, it's all gone quiet now, hasn't it?
You're a quiet little bunch for now. Has anybody kind of looked at their gas and electricity bill? Has anybody been worried about what they found with that?
Okay, can I just go back to that question from
The housing one, John, yeah.
Can you help with housing disputes with the council? We can't actually negotiate on your behalf. What we can do is if you need help sort of like with any information or advice around the issue, and then help if you wanted to or need the help with like completing complaint forms or filling in the appeal if it's around, you know, the housing issue, what we can do. But we can't actually negotiate on your behalf, I'm afraid. Is that okay, Fawn?
Thank you. Maybe Fawn doesn't want to speak at the
Hi,
moment.
is
because
it,
it's recorded still.
Is it okay if I just speak out loud? It's a bit easier than typing.
Yep.
It's just right now I have a friend who's unable to get housing because they're supposed to get 2 bedrooms to account for the fact that they're disabled and have certain types of equipment that takes up a lot of space, which the council normally would be fine with. But when it comes to getting